deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of myBurbank Talks, presented by the staff of myBurbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hi, Ashley Erikson here with myBurbank and another episode of the Women of Burbank podcast. And today I have my friend Ali Spuck here. In 2018, Ali was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, metastatic to the lymph nodes, liver, and lung. Her daughters were just 6 and 7 years old. Today we're going to hear her story and the journey she has faced and continues to face each day. Welcome, Ali. I'm really happy to have you here. I know this is going to be a difficult journey for both of us to go through together here, but I really appreciate you sharing your story today.
Hi, Ashley. I'm super happy to be here, and hopefully it will be more than not just difficult. I think that I hope to bring, I don't know, a little bit of my humor and heart to this, because I think you can't get through stuff like this without seeing the hilarity in it. And, if my story reaches somebody and gives them a little bit of hope or a boost or something, then great.
And I love that about you. You're so bubbly and you want to share your story and you want to talk about it. And I think that's really important. So I'd love to just start from the very beginning.
Sure.
Way back in 2018, right? When you ended up at the emergency room. Tell me about that day. What symptoms were leading you up to that day when you went in?
Okay, so, well, first of all, it's colon cancer, so we're going to be talking a little bit about butt stuff.
Let's just get it out of the way.
We're just going to have to unpack that a little bit. So basically in like 2016, I had been having some side pain and I went to the doctor and I had some scans and they thought it was my gallbladder. And it probably was. So I had my gallbladder out in 2016. But after that, I kept having sort of like lower tummy pains from time to time. And it would never, like, I couldn't figure out what the correlation was. It seemed like sometimes it was related to, like, if I ate something, like, really sweet or like a croissant, like a bready, fatty something. And, with your gallbladder out, you can't digest fats the same way. So I always just assumed it was that.
Okay.
And I would just have these, like, and it was just, like, hard to track. But just every once in a while, I had this really terrible lower belly pain. And separate from that, one night, I went to the bathroom. It's late at night. And I sort of, I noticed that there's like bright red blood on the toilet paper. And I was like, oh, well, that's alarming. So I call my nurse health line because it's late at night. I don't want to call my doctor. And she's like, well, is it bright red? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you have hemorrhoids? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm a mom, so I'm assuming that I have hemorrhoids. Like, anybody that's been pregnant probably like has that. I don't know. But she's like, well, if it's bright red, it's probably a burst hemorrhoid. They're always like, if it's dark and it looks
That's
like
what
coffee
I've always
grounds.
heard.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like, that's the ominous one. And I was like, I never had that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't having pain.
At that moment.
No.
Yeah.
So I was like, she was like, just watch it. It's probably that. And I was like, okay. So that was probably like, I don't know. That was a while afterwards, probably a year afterwards. But like, so I would have like intermittent, like tiny bits, like I would see blood every once in a while, never as much as it was the first time. And then I would have like this crazy pain, but never with blood.
And just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I couldn't.
And they didn't rule because usually like stomach pain is like IBS and
yeah, and I
Crohn's.
wasn't. Well, here's the other thing. Like, you guys, if you see blood, just go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like literally, she should have said it's probably this, but you need to go to the doctor.
100%.
Like, there should not be blood. So, like, go get it checked out. Like, that was the first sort of big miss for me that looking back, of course, with 2020 hindsight, I should have been more on top of my own health care and, lessons learned.
You trust your practitioners.
Of course.
Yeah. And of course, I'm sure like 9 out of 10 times or 9 out of 90 out of 100, it's fine. But
for
always
me, it
double
wasn't.
check. Yeah.
So, there was like a day, finally in like early 2018, in like, I guess it was February-ish, I had a bout of this pain
Mm-hmm.
that was, and normally these bouts would last 4 or 5 hours. But this one was like longer, and it was like overnight. My then husband was like left town. He was working, and so he left, and I was like, these always go away, it'll whatever. But he left, so I was like
Mhm.
at home with my girls, and it was just like not going away, and it got worse and worse, and I was
Yeah.
like throwing up, and
Oh.
it was bad enough, and I was like, this is not normal. I have to go see somebody. So of course it's a Saturday,
Mhm.
and I go over to Burbank Urgent Care,
Mhm.
who I love. I've been there a bunch, and they're great. Um, and they were like, "Well, it's a little too late in the day. We can't do the imaging that we think that you need." So they sent me over to Providence St. Joseph, the emergency room, and I go into the emergency room and tell them what's happening, and they're like, "Well, we need to do some scans." So they do a scan, and the doctor that's working with me is this very young attending, and she is just Dakota Fanning saucer eyes and like
Oh.
blinking, like just doe-eyed and adorable,
Mhm.
and you could tell that she's just like loving her residency, and she's very starry-eyed about being a doctor, and she's super cute, really nice. And so in my mind, they're like in the like her
Yeah.
her attendings or whatever are like saying to her, "All right, Becky."
Is that what you named her?
That's what I've named her. Um so Becky, you got to learn how to start giving people bad news. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Now, me? What? I can't, with her. What? Like." And they're like, "Yep, go." And they like push her in the room in my
Oh,
mind, like,
this is how it all went down in
oh
your
yeah,
brain.
fully. So she like, trips.
Push through the door.
Yeah, yeah. So she comes into the room, and like she's already trembling.
Is she?
Uh, and she's like, "So, they found suspicious thickening in your colon." And she's like, starts to tear up, and I'm
Oh.
flipping out. Like, I'm like, "What are you saying? What are you saying?" And
Speak
like,
in regular
yeah, and
words.
she's like, and I was like, "Are you saying I have cancer?" Like, she must have said something else. I don't remember. All I remember is suspicious thickening of the colon. And I'm like, "Are you saying I have cancer?" And she goes, she just like sits down next to me, and she's like crying. She puts her hand on my knee, and she's like, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Do you need an Uber? Like, do you need a hug? Like, can I,
Oh.
like, God bless her."
She probably thinks about that all of the time, that
Of
moment.
course. Like, you have to
Oh,
tell this young woman, I was 43, like,
yeah.
like this woman, like, who's gonna like, it's gonna change her life.
Yeah.
So that sets off, of course, a huge chain reaction of me going to like the gastroenterologist and having
Yeah.
the colonoscopy and all of the things. And so then they discovered that there was a tumor, and they knew that it was colon cancer at
Mhm.
that point. And then I had a colon resection, which is when they take out a section of your colon.
Mhm.
It's just what it sounds like. And like a foot of my colon, they removed a foot of my colon, and it had breached the colon wall. And so there were some lymph nodes involved, and they took out like 15 lymph nodes. And my doctor um, he's this sort of very haughty French surgeon guy, who I think is still at the hospital. So, and he's very good, but like the bedside manner for me was
Right?
like, but he's like, "I got it all,
I took it all out.
yeah, yes, I've got it all. I looked at, everything, and it's fine. You're fine. I was like, "Great." So, then I guess like a month after that, probably after I healed, I had another scan, and they were like, "Yeah, no, it's in your liver and in your lungs too."
Wow.
So that, you know,
Yeah.
for sure, man. I mean, I think once it's in another organ, it's
Mhm.
considered stage 4.
Right.
Although nobody has ever talked to me in terms of stages. No one's
Really?
ever said this is stage. I mean, I guess because they're like, well, clearly it's stage 4,
Mm.
um, but nobody's ever talked to me about stages. Nobody's ever.
Once it's metastasized, it has to be stage 4?
I think so. I think it depends on like Like if it's metastasized to the lymph nodes, I'm not sure. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. And every
It's
cancer is different.
yeah,
And that's the thing. Like I'm part of this, like, I call it the club that nobody wants to join.
yeah,
But like everybody's got their own little thing, like
yeah,
I'm even a weirdo in terms of like women's cancers because most of the time when I meet women with cancer, it's breast cancer.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so they're talking about, HER2, hormone this, like they're saying
It's
all
a
the
whole
kinds of
different
words that I
world.
don't know
Yeah,
anything about. And I'm like, I don't know what to say right now.
yeah.
So anyway, it's stage 4, we know for sure at that point. And so then I start on this like massive chemo
Mm-hmm.
um plan, and it's like the hellfire chemo. This is like the nuclear bomb where and I get this one chemo that makes me have like this terrible face rash that just looks like
Mm.
acne all over my face. I lose all my hair. And I'll tell you, I'm a vain lady, and the acne thing
That was
was
harder.
way harder than the hair because I had like
Oh,
massive amounts of hair. Like I had a giant head of hair. I
yeah.
don't know if you remember
I
from
do
back.
remember. Very curly, very, very
Yeah,
curly.
very big curly hair,
Yeah.
and I didn't really care.
You were rocking those beautiful scarves.
I was rocking a lot of scarves.
Yeah.
I liked being bald.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing because, you know, cancer isn't necessarily an external disease, right?
Hmm.
So I'm walking around. It's like when you're pregnant, you can and people can see that you're pregnant. They
Right.
offer you a little extra grace. If
Right.
you're tired, if you're cranky, they
Compassion
there's
and
compassion,
yeah.
because there's this visible thing,
Yeah.
right? With cancer, there's nothing. Generally speaking, there's nothing visible. So having this bald head was like sort of my like
Yeah.
badge, right? So that
Yeah. I'm
I
having a bad
I'm
day.
having
Now
a
you see
bad
why.
day. Give me a break. In a way I didn't mind it because of that. And also I just like kind of felt tough.
Yeah.
Like I felt cool. I'd always been kind of, punk rock and rebelly anyway, but I like really embraced this like hardcore
Yeah.
look, and I like wore lots of red lipstick and kind of tried to make the best of it. And they took me off the stuff that gave me this super bad rash. So my skin cleared up and I was okay. So I did that for 12 rounds. I mean,
Mm.
like I had to wear a pump
Yeah.
like that, like for 2 days afterwards. Um, and here's my first piece of advice. If you have a chemo pump, install a command hook next to your bed and next to your toilet.
That's a great
There's
idea.
my tip. There's my handy tip for you. The first one. So they call that something when people say tips. What is it called? I'm blanking. This is chemo brain.
That's a tip. What? Yeah.
Right, but they say, oh, it's a hack. It's a
Oh,
hack.
life hack. Yeah. You
God,
have a
that was
cancer hack.
oh, I'm so old. That felt so old. God, what do the kids call it? They call it a hack.
There's actually an
Ugh.
AYSO soccer team called Life Hackers. Life hacks?
It's a life
Hack.
hack. That's
Yeah,
right.
they're
It's a cancer
on
hack.
it.
God, I'm like I feel
Yeah.
so old right now. So yeah, so it's a cancer hack. So that's cancer hack number 1 because like you need somewhere to like put it.
Yeah, I
And
didn't it should be a thing.
it should be a thing. Well, it is a thing. Just use a command hook, and then
No.
you like, and then I had like a celebration when I could take it down. I like stretched the like
Yeah.
command hook stuff off, and haha, I don't have to have this next to my toilet anymore or my bed. So yeah, I did all of that, and in the meantime, I also like I had a resection on my liver and radiation on my lungs. So
This was all in that first bout
this is
of
all
everything,
the
right?
first year. This is all like
Wow.
like it was like March 2019
Mhm.
when I very, very first got diagnosed. And so this was like, yeah, for about a year. It's a little bit less because you have chemo like every 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I think that whole thing ended in about January, February of 2019. And then they were like, all right,
You're good?
I mean, ish. Like the
They're like,
stuff
you're
was
good
gone.
for now?
Yeah, they were like, like there wasn't anything in my liver.
Yeah.
My lungs looked like they had responded to the radiation, and I had done my 12 rounds.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, we're going to put you on Keytruda,
Mm-hmm.
which is a it's a drug that I'm not going to remember what it does. But it's like it's like a immune system
Mm.
thing. And there's a word for this kind of drug, but this is chemo brain, and I don't have those words anymore. So,
Well,
you
paired
know,
with mom brain, I feel
yeah.
like,
Oh, I got
geez,
it. Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So I'll remember like in 20 minutes, I'll be like, oh, Keytruda, it's this kind of drug. So yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first part.
Okay. So, so you left that ER. You didn't really have a diagnosis. They were like, you probably have cancer, but you need further evaluations. What was that like going home to tell your family?
Um, gosh. Well, in the beginning, we didn't really tell my kids. We told them that I had like a growth in my tummy because they were
Hmm.
so little and
Yeah.
they had no experience with cancer. So even me saying mommy has cancer wouldn't have meant anything to them. They
Right.
didn't know. I mean, they were 6 and 7 years old. They were
Yeah.
little and didn't know, and we were lucky enough that they didn't know anybody personally that had had cancer. And so I just explained it to them in terms that they would understand,
Hmm.
and just sort of went piece by piece for them.
Like as things came
Yeah.
along.
And that worked for us. My then husband was with me when I got the diagnosis for, when I was at the colonoscopy. Um, and I mean, I kind of already knew. So when they told me it was, I don't know, for me, it's always been like I'm more scared before the news.
Right.
Like, I call it like I'm waiting in the hall,
Yeah.
right?
It's the
When you're waiting
unknown.
in the hall, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But once the doors open,
You can
then
process.
you're like, all right, this is what we're looking at. Here's the
Yes.
plan. Here's what
Yes.
I can do. Here's how I can be active in
Yeah.
my
The waiting
treatments and
time is so much harder.
oh, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Just like, and I think that's another thing that like affects cancer patients during, post. So, I mean, because there's just this constant sort of what if,
Yeah. And all
you
the
know?
scans you have to have, right? And so you're
Oh
just
my God.
constantly waiting for results.
Constantly waiting
You're
for
just living
results.
from one test to the other, right? Yeah.
Totally, totally. So you just have to wait and hope and wait and hope and wait and hope. And then when they give you the diagnosis that something's actually there,
Hmm.
then you can be like, okay, the thing that I was worried about is there.
Yeah.
So now
Now it's action time.
now it's action time. I can do the things.
Yes.
Um and so yeah, I mean, it's so I still, even to this day, and we'll talk about it, but like every time I hear that there's something else, like I'm surprised. I'm like I'm like but I'm a healthy person. Like I
Yeah.
don't consider myself a sick person, which I know doesn't make any sense, but like
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a sick person. I
Well, you're living your life
yeah,
completely
yeah.
to the most normal that you possibly can, right? And that's all that you can do.
Yes, totally, totally. Um but yeah, like in the beginning it's no one expects the Spanish Inquisition kind
Yeah.
of a thing because you just everyone like they all you hear this, it's such a cliche, like I never thought it would happen to me.
Yeah.
But no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them.
100%.
We all walk around with this wonderful illusion of immortality,
Yeah.
right? And even though we know, like, oh, I'm going to die, but like nobody knows how or when or whatever. And suddenly you're confronted with this, like, kind of immediate, like, oh, I might die. Like, this is my life is not going to go quite the way that I thought it was going to go. So, all right, and of course, I mean, like, I sound sort of, I don't know, blithe about it now, but like, of course there was fear and terror
Yeah.
and tears and anger and all of those things still to this
Yeah.
day. I mean, I'm scared all the time, every day. Like I walk around with like this sort of base level of like a little bit of fear all
Yeah.
the time.
Of course.
But yeah, it's just so I think everybody, when I told all the people that I had to tell, it was just like, the sort of mix of like fear, sadness for me, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and like once in a while, you see like a little bit of relief that it's not them, not in a mean way. I don't blame them. I would
Mhm.
be relieved if it wasn't me either. Um, but like you can see it, like when people see you and they're like, "How are you?" and they like tilt their head,
Yeah.
like a little sympathetic head tilt. "How are you?" And you see like on their face, like
You
this
can read
whole
it through
like,
their
"Oh
eyes.
God," in like seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, yeah, of course, good for you. Like, I don't wish this on anybody.
Mhm.
Like, but yeah, it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
the a mind trip all the time. I'm assuming I can't cuss on this podcast.
I mean,
So
we've had some words flown a few times, so
so yeah.
you're
All right.
fine.
I'll try my best because I curse like a sailor. But
Yeah. No, I
yeah.
yeah, my aunt who's my age, her name is also Ali.
Mhm.
We grew up together like sisters, and she's stage 4 breast cancer and metastasized. And so, just watching her through these years, this happened when we were 28.
Mm.
And so that's why I had a double mastectomy as a preventative. And um, so, she's doing the chemo pills and she's doing that life and just living every moment. And
Mhm.
it breaks my heart when she says, just, I really love my life and I
Mhm.
don't want to lose it. And so
Mhm.
she fights really hard every single day. And it makes me want to cry because I think about like, she just really enjoys being here. She enjoys her world. She enjoys her friends. And so I'm sure just you kind of have that always, like, in the back of your head, I'm sure, as you're moving through life, right? Especially
Mhm.
when you have your children and you're watching them grow up, and I think I
Mhm.
read something where you wrote that you dropped them off to school for their first day of school at junior high, and is this your first last,
Yeah. My
right? And
last
all
first.
last first.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
those moments, are you always thinking about that?
Oh, every day, all the time, with everyone that I love.
Mhm.
Um, time is exceptionally precious to me. Um, the time that I get with the people that I love, and yeah, like because that's our most finite resource, right? Love is infinite, care is infinite, energy is infinite. Like you know, so like in theory, like I'll never really be gone, but like um but time is infinite.
Right.
So I mean it's finite. So yeah, and these experiences um are precious to me. And I think about it, like and I'm like it takes a toll on me so often my emotional, my physical, my mental resources are super tapped.
Mhm.
And so I lose my patience a lot. I don't have the resources that most people do to kind of deal with things that stress me out or upset me
Mhm.
more. So like I lose my patience with my
Yeah.
girls. And I mean we all do.
Yeah.
Like how many like
Yeah.
7 times I have to ask you to brush your teeth. Like you do this every day. Like you're gonna have to go to bed again tonight. That
It's
happens
like the weird, like, this brand new news to them all of a sudden.
shockingly, it's 9 o'clock, so that means it's bedtime
Yeah.
again. And so, like, and I get angry and upset with them
Yeah.
and I yell, or like, how many times do I have to tell you I would like you to keep your room cleaner? And
Yeah.
like, just no. And of course, part of me is like, I could just not care.
Yeah.
But I do care because it's like these little things that you can control, I guess. I don't know what it is, but yeah, so I lose my patience and then I feel like a terrible person. I feel like a terrible person a lot, actually. Um,
Why?
well, cancer feels intensely personal. It feels, very much like somebody's sitting, I don't know, my belief in the higher power isn't exactly like, a bearded man on a cloud, but it does feel like somebody's looking at a room of people and they're
Mhm.
like,
You
with
feel
their
picked
finger
out.
and they're like they point at you like you're going to get this. This is
Right.
for you. And it does feel karmic. Like and I'm constantly like I don't understand. Like I feel like I try to be a person that lives with love and an open heart and kindness, and I certainly have I mean like I'm in no way close to perfect. Like obviously none of us are, but like I try very hard
Yeah.
to be a good friend and a good partner and a good mom. And so it's just like, what, like, it feels so much like I must have done something. I must have done something to deserve this, like,
Yeah.
and excuse me, like, yeah. So I just
I
walk
hear what
around
you're
and I'm
saying.
like,
Yeah.
I don't, because we want to explain it. Like,
Right. You don't have an answer. And none of us have answers of all the things that are happening in this world and all the evils. And it's very hard to understand that and absorb it and comprehend it all. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, um,
And so the girls, this started when they were very young, right?
mm-hmm.
And now they're in middle school.
Right.
So is most of their memory of you with cancer?
I assume so. I mean, you know, every once in a while they'll say something like, I wish this didn't have to happen,
Mhm.
or I miss your long hair. Um,
Mm.
Jeez, who knew that was going to be the thing? Um, so yeah, I just feel really guilty and sad for them that, like, sometimes their mom has to just lay on the bed and can't participate in their life the way that I would like to. Um, that they have to they just have a vocabulary of that now. It's just part of their life, which is so unfair to them. Like, it just sucks. And it'll be part of their story and part
Mhm.
of their trauma, and you know, they'll write a great essay about it and get into college, and you know. Um, but yeah, I don't even remember what I was really talking about. I was just thinking about them. Um, I think, like, I guess, yeah, the transition from kind of not knowing to knowing, um, it was sort of gradual. For one of my daughters, it was very, she had sort of a really bad, um, experience in her school, and I don't even actually know that I wanna get into what
Yeah.
happened about that. But, sh they both yeah, like I said, we've developed sort of this language,
Mhm.
and I don't even mean literal language. I just mean that they know sometimes mom
Yeah.
needs extra patience or extra time, or
I'm sure it's taught them a lot of compassion and patience and understanding.
I mean, they are both incredibly empathetic girls. They are really, I mean, like, I was talking to one of them the other day about this, I had seen on I don't know, I heard it on a podcast or a TikTok or something, so it must be true. Um, that, like, there's a connection with kids to their parents, to their mothers, not just their parents, but to their primary caregiver,
Mhm.
that goes, some people say, to like 9, some people to say to 12. I would say forever, but certainly when they're little, that they have like this sort of innate sense of their mother's energy or their
Mm,
primary caregiver's energy. So, like, if it's
yes.
the dad that they're with the most of the time, then it's the dad. But for us, it's the mom, and like
100%.
they definitely do. And my little one, I think, kind of like likes to poke the beast a little bit.
Those younger kids.
I mean, they are very much like me.
Yeah.
So,
That is true. I've never heard that before, but when you say that, I think about my kids. They're 10 and 14.
mhm,
They know the change in my voice. They
mhm.
know how if I respond in a different tone, immediately something is wrong with my day, and they're super in tune to it. So I never even thought about that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if they do more.
Mhm.
I think they've always kind of both been sort of energetically intelligent, emotionally intelligent. Um, and maybe this is one of the reasons why, and maybe that's just who they were.
Hmm.
Um, but it's certainly something that they I think they have a little bit more empathy, certainly than most kids
Yeah.
their age, um, which is, I guess, a good thing.
Yeah. I
Um,
think we all need that in this
yeah,
world a little bit, right? Oh,
yeah,
Dodgers got somebody at the door. Well, let's get back to your
yeah.
story again
Okay.
here with um you were told that everything was looking okay. And they removed what they thought they needed to remove, and you finished your chemo, and then you went on with life. And I'm guessing you did PET scans and
hmm
things just to kind of monitor. And then what happened?
Yeah. So the first reoccurrence was in the fall of 2019. So I had been on the Keytruda, the immune system, whatever it was that I'm not remembering what it does, but and I had a reoccurrence, and it was back in my liver. So they hadn't, they think they like cut it out, and then they check for clean edges to make sure that they get it all, and they thought that they had gotten it all, but they hadn't. And so it was back in my liver. So then I had to have another resection, and I think it was at that point that I started on um, Xeloda, which is a pill chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was then. So I started the Xeloda, and then I had the liver resection, and then from then I don't think I was ever at a point where I was truly. I mean, like, of course they took it out of my liver and they were like, okay, your liver's clean again. But I think then it was like then it was kind of coming back in my lungs a little bit, and then so then I had more radiation on the lungs, and then from then on it was sort of just always a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the realm of cancer, I'm lucky in that my cancer is slow growing. It's not super aggressive. It's not taking over the organs that it's in. So we've been able to kind of stay on top of it. But that's what is considered chronic cancer.
Right.
So, I think,
They can't remove it, but they can keep it from growing and spreading.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, in theory, they can't until science and medicine catches up to it, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of already happening even within my own cancer story.
Isn't that incredible to
It's
watch?
amazing. Like
Even just the advancement of the chemo pills, they're always coming out with a new trial, and
I mean, I haven't done any trials yet.
Mm-hmm.
My doctor is like, you're not in the place where you need to
Right.
participate in a trial. So that's, what I think is, sort of a good thing because that means that I still have options as far as
Absolutely.
other drugs go. Um, and so yeah, I kind of moved forward. I had another liver reoccurrence in 2020, and I had what's called an ablation, which is in my mind, it's like a tiny lightsaber, and
Oh.
they like with radiation, they like cut it out, and it's like with like heat. So they can't test it, and it's like a different thing, but it's less invasive than the
Oh.
resection, and
So they can't test it because they're just pretty much
they're
like
just like, yeah,
melding
it's
it
like they're
off.
melting it, and
Yeah.
like it's gone. So I had that, and then so that was in like 2020, and then somewhere in like 2021 or 22, I had a little bit more pop up in my lungs. So I had some more lung radiation. Um, and then in the fall of 2022, my doctor was like, because I was on Xeloda and I was on a drug called Avastin, which Xeloda is a chemotherapy drug. That's a chemical drug that sort of affects. Basically, it's like a kill drug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're all kill drugs, but like it's like a chemically, it's killing it like sort of chemically. Avastin is a biologic drug. Biologic drugs affect the biological systems of the tumors. So in this case, that one was it prevented the tumors from growing their own vascular systems. And I'm like,
Wow.
how do they even figure it out? I don't know. Like it was all so amazing to
That is
me.
incredible.
It was like a wonder. So I was on Avastin and Xeloda for like two or 3 years. and it was effective. Although one day I was in my doctor's office and I looked at, because like I learned very early on, like don't Google anything.
Yeah.
And I stopped looking at my like test results.
When they get uploaded, you don't
Yeah,
look. That
no,
is
I don't look at anything.
so
I don't look at
hard.
anything because I would like freak out about like tiny fluctuations in
Yeah.
numbers and I don't really know.
Yeah.
And I would come in and I would be like, am I dying? Or like whatever.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, this is fine, you know? So I was like, I'm just going to let the doctors say now is the time when we need to panic or we need to do some work. Otherwise, like I don't look at anything. So, but I happened to look at the screen that day and I saw that he had made a note that like eventually there would be a breakthrough, like like it would fail. It said that's what it said. Eventually we know this plan will fail.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck. Sorry, you get the
can
one.
say
That's the
that.
one. Like that time I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was like, so, and then so the next time I saw him, I was like, I saw this thing. I usually don't look at this stuff, but like, what does that mean? And he was like, well, I had to be very clear for this, you know, this thing like that, like I knew somebody else was going to read because it was like another doctor was going to have to read this and stuff like that. So, I had to say that, you know, basically, but you know, like we hope that it won't, but like, you know,
Right.
I love my oncologist. He's great. He's full of hope. He's super frank. I know when he's like, you know, now's the time, then we get to work. I know that if he's not worried, then I don't need to be worried. Like, and what's really been interesting the entire time, and this is a blessing for sure, is that no one's ever said anything to me about timelines. Like,
Wow.
no one's ever been like, well, you know,
Yeah.
6 months, a year, 5 years. I mean, like he talks in terms, he's like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
That's incredible.
I don't know if he just says that because like nobody wants to hear a year or two, but I like it
Yeah.
because it gives me, you know, the hope that I need. Um, yeah, so in the fall, he was like, yeah, it's growing again. So he took me off the Avastin and he was like, we need to put you back on the nuclear bomb, basically.
That's the one that really affects you badly.
Yeah, it's like it's real chemo. So I was on a drug called I stayed on the Xeloda, and then I started a drug called oxaliplatin, which is a platinum-based chemotherapy that I had been on in the beginning. And that was also like, it just felt like I was like going right back to the beginning. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this again. Like, God.
But with the chemo, it doesn't make you lose your hair.
Not that one, no.
So you're having all the other symptoms, but nothing that's showing like how we talked about with
Yeah, nothing.
being pregnant. It was just
No, I
yeah,
just
you're
had
just
to
kind of fighting that battle alone.
yeah. And it is super lonely. Like it's super lonely. And I had you know, some support, you know, my boyfriend would go to all my appointments with me and all of that because oh yes, in the middle of
we'll get to let's you want to start we can open that.
we can
unpack that
we
one.
can unpack that too.
So in the middle of the hardest part of your life,
Mhm.
you and your husband separate.
Yes.
Tell me about
So
that.
I you know, he always had worked away from home. Um, he's a producer, and you know his job would take him to sets kind of all over. So we were kind of used to this lifestyle where he would be home for you know a good chunk, and then like 3 or 4 weeks he would be gone. Um, and shortly after I got diagnosed, he came to me and he was like, I think you're doing really well. I feel like we're in this season of like amazing creation. I really want to leave my job and start our own company. I'll be able to make more money. You won't have to work as much because of screenwrite. So I would still be able to sort of screenwrite and do that kind of thing as I could. But, you know, like I really think that this is the time to do it. And I, you know, was like, okay, I trusted him, and I was like, that sounds good. And um, I had some friends that were kind of stepping up to help. My mom was nearby. So I had some support, and I thought, okay, well, we can figure out how to do this. And so he traveled a lot because now it was our company. So his
Mhm.
travel stepped up, and he was gone for longer amounts of time.
Were you in
Um,
treatment at this time? So you
mhm.
were going through treatment alone at home while he was gone traveling?
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I mean, he was working. I don't
Yeah,
want
no,
like,
yes, yeah,
yeah, I don't want to say that he was like
yeah, but
traveling.
that's
He was
hard to be
working.
alone with
Sure,
kids doing
yeah.
all that, yeah.
And then he would come back, and we would have our time or whatever. And I just kind of like buckled down and did it because I didn't really feel like I had a choice. It seemed like it was, it was going well. Like we were making good, money through the company and all of that. But, he was gone a ton. And I can't speak for him as to like whether or not it was, sort of a, what's the word I want? Subconscious, like I can't be here to watch.
Right.
Um
He felt he could support
he
further
felt,
away
yeah,
in
and
a different way.
so yeah, like he felt like I don't know what I'm supposed to do there. I know I can make money if I'm
Right.
somewhere else. Um but it did feel I don't know. In the beginning it felt okay, and then it just started to get more and more like wait a minute. Like I need my partner here.
Mhm.
Like I need my person here. And we just kind of grew like sort of further and further apart. I didn't really understand why he wouldn't just find work locally. He kept insisting that the work was better other places, and it maybe that's true. And then like COVID hit, and he was like, well, I need to go back to Vancouver because if I don't go to Vancouver, um, I will like they're going to close the borders,
Right.
and we won't be able to get any work at all. And I was like, okay. Um,
And you were in recurrence at that time?
I was in like there wasn't an active recurrence until like a little bit later, but I was in like chemo
Mhm.
and stuff. Um, and they closed the borders, and so we didn't see him from like April to October.
Wow.
And so I did all of COVID with my kids by myself, and it was super lonely and really hard. And I found, emotional support other places, and he found emotional support other, we had our communities,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't our it wasn't like my partner.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of like um that was kind of
Completely detached at that time?
yeah. And then neither, I mean, what's weird is that like we always had a really great like working relationship with our company, and we parent really well together. But yeah, our marriage just didn't survive. Um, we just didn't prioritize each other's feelings, each other's needs. I felt really abandoned, and I will be the first to admit that like that's my super trigger. I am like classic abandonment
Mhm.
issues lady. Um, but like I knew that and he knew that. So we should have taken better care, and we just didn't. And I think we that the fact that we didn't is telling, but it happens a lot.
Yeah.
There's a huge percentage of marriages where the wife is or partnerships where the female partner
Mhm.
I don't know about same sex partnerships, so
Mhm.
I'm just speaking about like
Yeah.
cis het partnerships. Um like in sort of like that kind of a male female partnership, if the female gets sick and has some sort of chronic or terminal disease,
Mhm.
um, then the percentage of the male partner leaving is astronomical.
Yeah. I
And
did read that it was like 7 times
it's
higher
like
for
seven
men
times.
to leave women versus women to leave
Yeah,
men.
yeah, it's really high. And so high that I've read some articles where nurses are like, I feel like I need to warn my female patients,
Mm.
like, this is a distinct possibility that you're going to end up doing this by yourself. Um, and yeah, so I think it was a number, and then there's other stuff that I'm
Yeah.
obviously not talking about here, but yeah, like it definitely happened with us, and it was a really sad thing, like you think you're gonna spend your life with somebody, and then
Yeah,
you're not.
nobody prepares for cancer, nobody prepares for divorce, right? You don't prepare for any of these things. It's
Not
not gonna
really.
happen to me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I think people prepare for divorce probably more than they prepare for cancer. Like, people do prenups and all of
That
that.
is
Like they're thinking maybe
Yeah.
this isn't forever. But yeah, nobody ever like
Yeah.
goes through their life thinking they're gonna have cancer. So
Oh, I feel like that's like the now more than ever. I have friends who have like severe cancer anxiety just from
hmm
watching people around them suffer. It's any kind of headache or
hmm
stomach ache or anything, they're like going to the doctor and were you like that beforehand or you never even thought about it?
No, I wasn't like that at all. I
Yeah.
wasn't like, I mean, like, and I've had like other little like health things. I had this weird like growth on my liver. But again, like I said at the beginning, like every time I get news about something about my health, I'm always shocked and surprised.
Yeah.
But I want to address what you said about people having cancer anxiety because I think from inside it, I can offer a little
Mm,
reassurance to those
that
people.
would be great.
Um, Cancer hack number 2. I mean, I don't know if this is a hack, but like the thing is that cancer is a very different disease now than it used to be. And we've all been taught that if you hear that you have cancer, it's like the worst thing that anybody can say to you. I mean, I'm a writer, and like how much is cancer used as a trope in Hollywood? It
Mhm.
drives me crazy. It's like the easy way to like give a character a hurdle, kill off a parent. Like it's
Right?
just like so, so we're taught over and over and over again that cancer is just like, if you hear that you have cancer, then it's over. And I think that that does us a bit of a disservice, especially where we are now with medicine, because um, no, I don't. Going through chemo and all of those things isn't easy, but like I think that if we can learn that like many cancers are now, sort of like can be considered like, like a diabetes
Mhm.
or another, like
It's a lot
another
of long-term management,
super
right?
long-term management. The treatments are more well studied, more refined, so that you're not getting quite so many of the side effects that you once were. I mean, like I'm back on that crazy drug that gives me the rash now.
Mm,
And like, if you look at me, you can see that my skin looks a little bit like I have like acne or something. Like I have like lots of little bumps on my skin and sores and like, it's not cute, but like makeup or whatever.
well, this lighting is doing wonders on you.
Fantastic. Everyone at home. But I promise it's like, yeah, it's like I look at it every day and I'm like, because, but like even from then to now, like when I first had it, like, oh, it was terrible. And this
Yeah.
just like, it was itchy and uncomfortable and just like this massive rash, like from my, like basically my like nasal labial folds, like all the way down from my nose to my chin and then all over my chin. I mean, it was awful and uncomfortable. And this time, I don't know if I'm on the same amount. I don't remember, but like, it's bad, and there are times when my face is really broken out, but it's not anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
So I think my point is, I'm getting off topic a little bit. My point is that if we can start to reframe a little bit, um, so that we aren't living our lives in fear, then if, God forbid, you do get that diagnosis, you can come to it from a point of like, I know that the science is there.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if you're living in a city like Los Angeles, the medical support is there for you. I mean, like a
Yeah.
person living in a small town, they don't have access to the same kind of thing, so it's a little bit different for them. But like if you're living in a major metropolitan area, you have access to well researched, well, especially breast cancers and colon cancer, leukemia, like these very well researched cancers. People are surviving them
Mm-hmm.
more and more and more. I don't want anybody to get cancer, and it sucks. But like, I don't know. I feel like the fear about it, it's the waiting in the hall,
It is
right?
the waiting. You're waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Like
Yeah.
eventually someone's gonna tell me this, and so you're just like constantly waiting for someone to tell you it. And then I'm sure
Right.
once you're heard, you're like, great, now I can
Now you
move
get
on
to
from
now you
this.
get to
And
work. I mean,
yeah,
cancer steals a lot because like this is the thing about cancer too. It's like you spend your life, I mean it affects my my relationship with my girls. It affects my relationship with my boyfriend. Um, it makes me, you know, often like less of who I'd like to be because I have this thing. I've lost lots of friends over the years. I feel like partially because maybe they're sick of dealing with me and the cancer, partially because of the cancer and the treatment, like I don't have the capacity to I am naturally a little more self-centered than I was before because I have all of these things that I'm constantly thinking about. So, I drop the ball more often than I should. Um, I'm, much more jealous and possessive, and my abandonment issues get triggered at the drop of a hat. So I don't have, I just don't, I don't have all of my faculties. Um, So, and cancer does that. And so I mean, like I said, I'm saying two things. Don't be afraid of it, but also it sucks. Um, but like as far as like I don't know, I just don't want people to walk around being
yeah.
afraid because I'm telling you right now in the middle of it, like God, I mean
You're
like
going on trips. You're enjoying
sure,
things.
yes,
It,
yes.
it's been a long journey for you. It's not
Mhm.
like it's an overnight thing
Right.
that changes. I mean, it changes your life overnight, but
It does.
you have brought so much hope into it and this humor to it and this, comedic relief, which I'm sure is like a way to,
Yeah.
help with everything. But I see what you're saying,
It's
because
just
I get the anxiety all of the time,
mhm.
and what you're saying is very eye opening, and I appreciate that.
Oh, I mean, I don't yeah, like I don't know. It's so yeah, like I really love life. I love living life. I love my life. I love, being able to travel when I can. I love, sitting out on a summer night listening to music and drinking a glass of wine and, like there's so much, little, like the butterflies this year, like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just me, but I feel like there's so many butterflies this year, and every time I see one, I'm like, "Look at the beautiful butterfly." I planted a pomegranate tree like
Yeah,
3 years ago, and like it's fruiting, and I'm so excited.
that's amazing.
And it's like, I don't know. You just like I think it goes back to what I said before about this illusion of immortality
Mhm.
and our egos. And this whole thing has been like just this supreme breaking down of my ego. I mean, I'm a super like in two ways. I'm like a super egoic person anyway. Like I'm like, you know, um I'm not a wallflower. I want to be like big and
Mhm.
kind of in the center of things and all of that because it feels good and it feels, like I like to be, we all like to feel seen. I don't think that that's unique to me, but it is our ego, right? And nobody wants their ego to be destroyed, right? Um, so it's this sort of long letting go of that. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a quick, short commercial break, and then we will be right back.
Ooh.
Are you tired of spending your weekends cleaning instead of enjoying your free time? Well, now you don't have to. Introducing My Favorite Cleaning Company, your trusted local Burbank cleaning solution. Whether you need residential deep cleaning, regular residential service, move-in, move-out services, or even small business cleaning, we've got you covered. Our cleaners use high-quality cleaning products and state-of-the-art equipment for exceptional results. From kitchens to bathrooms, bedrooms to living spaces, we leave no corner untouched. Call My Favorite Cleaning Company today at 818-629-1255 and let My Favorite Cleaning Company be your favorite cleaning company. Visit our website at myfavoritecleaningcompany.com to learn more about our services and book your appointment.
All right, we are back. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some energy work and therapy stuff that you've been doing. What has been helping you through this journey?
Well, I think that one of the really, one of the things that's important for a person that's going through cancer is um, finding places where they can feel a sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
And because so much of this feels wildly out of your control. And one of the places that I feel like has been a place where I can hold on to that is through sort of alternative healing modalities. And so I, a friend of mine introduced me to Kundalini yoga. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. Like I can go to this place and do this thing. And that feels active in my healing and my care. Reiki,
Mm-hmm.
sound baths, meditation, all of these things are mentally healing and physically healing and feel like something that you can do that's active in your care. So for me, I mean, like I've tried all kinds of things. There's a great charity or organization called the Foundation for Living Beauty that offers access to a bunch of different alternative healing modalities for women with cancer, and all at no cost. And they're just this amazing organization. So a lot of this stuff I found through them. They do retreats and all kinds of stuff like that. This isn't a commercial, but they just happen to be like the one that sort of introduced me to some things. But like I've done craniosacral therapy. I've had I've looked into like essential oils.
Yeah.
I mean, like just I think that anything that you can do that gives you a sense of control and
Yeah.
hope is valuable. And I do that in, the Eastern medicine in conjunction with the Western medicine. I think that that's important for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just something that I think is a way to sort of self-soothe
Yeah.
and to offer myself something, and it takes your mind off of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it does that for anybody, but
Yeah.
like
Well,
particularly
I'm sure
some-
self-care in general is so important for anybody.
Yeah.
So it's important to find something that's for yourself, right? That you have power over.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So you've got some cancer life hacks you gave us.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to somebody whose family member or friend is going through cancer? What is something you can give to the support team?
Well, my first and silly one is like, don't send mugs.
Like coffee mugs?
Coffee mugs. Like we get so many mugs, and we love it. But like now we have to store mugs. I think because people don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, well, I'll do something that's soothing. So they send like lovely tea
Yeah.
and a mug.
Yeah.
I did get this beautiful like hand knitted blanket from somebody. I got a
Oh.
lot of blankets.
Yeah.
Also a lot
Also
of
hard to store.
also hard to store. But I did get this beautiful like hand crocheted blanket from like my friend's temple in Texas, I
Wow.
think. totally unexpectedly. That was lovely. But generally, yeah, like I think stay away if you can from sending stuff.
Mm.
So here is my actual, like the actual hack or the biggest piece of advice that I can give. And this actually works for anybody in any kind of when they're in a situation where they are incapacitated in some way. There's been a death,
Mm-hmm.
they've been diagnosed with cancer, they, their kid is, God forbid, sick or something. Like anytime you don't know what to do, think of something that you want to do and tell them what you're going to do.
Mm.
You don't ask them, what can I do for you? Because suddenly you've given them something else to think about. It adds another layer to their stress. And we know that you're well meaning, and it's not that we don't appreciate it, but like now I'm like, okay, well, what do I need? And what can I ask for? And what is too much?
So is it easier just to say, I'm fine? I don't
It's
need
easier to say I'm
anything?
fine, I don't need anything, I'm super good, like, because then I don't have to,
Yeah.
then I've not overstepped. I've certainly, just recently, I, with a mom group of mine, I found out that like they like weren't as, happy about the amount of stuff I'd been like the support that I've been asking for and the way that I've been it was becoming like too much. I
Mm.
was like, all right, now I know. So like offer it. Be like,
Right.
I'm gonna make you dinner. Can I bring it over Wednesday or Thursday?
And what are
I
good
like
things to offer?
Yeah,
Meals?
meals are great, or just like send them like a DoorDash
Yeah.
gift card if you're not in town. Send them a DoorDash gift card, or like or
Yeah.
like something to have food delivered to them. That's a great thing. They don't have to store anything. Somebody's fixing dinner for them. Like that kind of stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come over and do your laundry for you.
Mm.
Like that's a great thing. Um, you know, like I'm gonna drive you to your next appointment. I'm gonna, like I'm taking my kids to the movies. I'm gonna come get your kids.
Mm.
Like don't like just be like Saturday, I've got your kids. Like your
Yeah.
kids are taken care of. Like whatever. But like if in that way, like if you're offering, then you know that you're giving what feels good for you.
Mm-hmm.
They know you're giving what feels good for you, and they don't feel like they've asked for too much.
Right.
They don't feel, because like feeling guilty, I mean, like I feel like a burden all the time to everybody that I love and that loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just is part of it. And so if somebody's offering, then I know it's not a burden and it's a joy for them. I
Right.
mean, like
That's great
my
advice.
boyfriend, like he goes with me to every cancer appointment, and like he doesn't, it's not me asking. He's just like,
Yeah.
when's the appointment? We're going.
Yeah. It's
And
so
that's a
hard
whole
to ask for help, even in general,
oh
I'm sure.
God, nobody wants to say they need help.
No.
And
And so,
then
and if so, I mean, someone offering is different. Then, like, if you need something, you have to ask. Are you able to do that? Like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that.
there have been times
It's
when I've been
hard.
just like, yep, I gotta
Yeah.
ask. Like I just had a procedure last Friday,
Mm.
and my mom came over and was with the girls Friday and Saturday nights, and then she went home, and then Sunday I was like, oh no, I I still need you, and I called her and I was like, I need you to come back over.
Yeah.
And even with my mom, I mean, she's my mom, but even then I'm still like cognizant of the fact that like I
Yeah.
ask for a lot from her. So yeah. And that way, like you don't it just, we walk around feeling, I mean, at least I do. I don't know if everybody that has cancer does, but like I walk around feeling super burdensome and really like self-conscious about being the cancer lady, and like, which was why for many years I didn't have a voice about it
Right.
really. Like I just started an Instagram. Like
Yeah.
I said, like on it says like I started in the middle, because like I was like, all right, I'm gonna like
Yeah.
feel like clearly I need to be talking about this more. I need to be having a voice about this more. But like, yeah, I feel super broken a lot. And that's a way that people can sort of pick up some of your pieces for you,
Mhm.
and you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right.
Um, I remember another time, like right when I first got diagnosed, my friend Tracy was like, I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need anything? And I was like, you know what? Yes, I do. I
Mhm.
don't have stuff for my kids' lunches this week. Can you get me these
Yeah.
5 things so I can make my kids' lunches for school? And she was like, yep, totally happy to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. That felt so good
Took
because
such off your shoulders,
it
I'm
was
sure.
like,
Yeah.
and it was like a very specific thing. I didn't feel like it was too much to ask. She was
Yeah.
clearly offering, like it was like one of the easiest moments of asking for care because she offered something super specific.
Mm.
I needed that specific thing, and I knew that it like wasn't
Yeah.
too much. But anytime, so I think it's really about the offer
Yeah.
and not letting them get to the point where they have to ask because it's just so hard. And saying, just, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
They're
And
never
anything
gonna,
is so vague. I'm sure that's like,
they're just never gonna ask because
yeah.
they don't know what's too much to ask.
Yeah. What about company? Like, I'm gonna come over
Sure.
today.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna bring a book.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk. You can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna literally, I wanna be in your space with you.
Yeah.
Fine. Like, if you're in the hospital,
Hmm.
like, can I, like, I would like to come and sit with you now that people can go to the hospital again.
Yeah.
Like these kinds of things, or like if somebody, somebody's recuperating and maybe they don't have somebody at home with them, like, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
like, I have this chunk of time or this chunk of time. I'm gonna bring a book. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Just not
Or I'll
being
bring my
alone, I'm
computer.
sure feels so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's super lonely.
Yeah.
Cancer's super lonely because
Yeah.
ultimately it's just you.
Right. No one can really express it. You can't explain to people how you're feeling inside, I'm sure.
No.
And so now you're taking your voice and
Mm,
you're bringing it to the social media world. You've started
mm,
an Instagram.
yes.
What other projects are you working on?
So, yes, cancer like a mother. I'm sure we'll say that
Oh, we
again.
will have that in the
Yes.
bio so
Yes.
everyone can find
Yes.
her.
Cancer like a mother. Um, and another really cool thing that I'm working on, when I was at the Disney Cancer Center here in Burbank, I met this awesome woman. Her name's Allison Mann, and she's a breast cancer survivor. And she's just this brilliant force. And so she, like, of almost any, I mean, she's a lot like you. Like, she's doing something to impact her community
Mm.
with her life, and I admire that so much. And I find myself wanting to do more of that, and like not really like knowing where to do it. You're great about that. Like,
Thank
you're
you.
finding like all of these ways to positively impact Burbank and the community at large, and I think that's such a cool thing.
Thank you.
I was talking about coming on here, and I was like, this is this woman, and she does all these things. Anyway, but so I met this woman, Allison, and she does, she started this a foundation to help like uh, kids from disadvantaged backgrounds and children, kids of color, kids, the LGBTQ community, sort of access opportunities in animation and learn about like
Yeah.
it's called the Brick Foundation. It's really cool. So she started that, and she did this like really cool like coffee table book that like benefited. I'm forgetting something. The voting. It was like a voting coffee table book thing.
Oh.
It was like this really cool thing. So she knows all of these really amazing women in animation. And she introduced me to this other woman, Monica Lego Cadis, and she was like, and Allison said to us, she was like, I have this idea for an animated short. And so I write, Monica, produces and creates, and Allison is directing, and we've bringing on, God, I'm blanking on everybody that's working on it right now. But like, so it's this entire team of people in the animation industry creating this short called Tunnel Vision that, we hope to sort of get into the festival circuit and things like that. That's all about basically the waiting in the hallway moment.
Mm.
And sort of this woman who's getting ready to get her results, and sort of the two paths that she's seeing before her, and you see sort of just like the
Yeah.
the sort of two different visions of what her life is going to be. I mean, like, I wish I remembered everybody's names because the composer is this like amazing like Disney person, and it's just like, I mean, like the talent on this
Well,
thing
so this
is
is
just.
being currently worked on right
It's
now.
currently being worked on. We're gonna get into it's like been storyboarded and like the
Yeah.
characters have been designed and all of that. So we're gonna have to fund it to actually get it made. But everybody that's working on it either has had cancer or
Wow.
has been directly impacted, like a parent, a
Yeah.
spouse, a child with cancer. So it's everybody's donating their time
Yeah.
to this project, and I'm just like,
Exciting.
I wrote on it, and I'm just really proud of it. Um, and Maggie Malone and Stevie Wormers are two other of the other women that are working on it with us. And just, I mean, amazing directors and writers that like are helping to put this thing together. And I just think it's going to be a beautiful piece.
That's exciting. And you'll post it on your Instagram, sure, when things are taken off.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like there might be some kind of like GoFundMe or something. I mean,
Yeah,
we have to raise an
Kickstarter.
insane amount of money. Like
Yeah.
animation is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's going to be a really meaningful, important piece.
That's
and
awesome.
beautiful, and I'm so proud to be part of it. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
That's coming up.
And you're going to be speaking at the Tequila's fundraiser, which I'm working with
am.
Patricia at Tequila's Burbank. We do a fundraiser every year, so you're going to be our guest speaker this year. So I'm very excited. It's going to be on November 1st.
It'll be great. I'll drink some
Yeah.
tequila and
Yep.
cuss a lot more than I'm cussing right now.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. And just thank you for being here and sharing your story and sharing some positive light on this. And I love that you're coming out and talking about it and sharing your story, because I'm sure for a lot of people that are going through similar journeys, it is very lonely. And so to have someone else be like, hey, I'm going through it and this is how I'm feeling, and putting that vulnerability out is really incredible. So thank you for being that person.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
So happy to be here. I think I tell people a lot because people ask me to speak to their friends a
Mhm.
lot who have just been diagnosed. And one of my favorite things to say is that this road has already been paved for you. So you don't need to walk it alone, and it's not the road that it once was. And
Yeah.
if I can be a hand to hold or just a familiar face or just help somebody feel seen and heard and understood, then I think that's good work and important in a way that I can turn all of this into something
Yeah.
meaningful and better.
If you can impact one life, right? That's all that counts, right? If you can make one person's journey a little bit easier by being there,
I hope so.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ali, and I
thank
really
you for having
appreciate it.
me.
Welcome, and thank you guys for listening to another episode of Women of Burbank. We'll see you soon.
My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of my Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, UME Credit Union, the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Gain Credit Union, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, UCLA Health, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.